morning, everyone. So my name is Minji Shi, and I come from Zapier, currently working as a customer analyst. On top of that, I'm also freelancing for UX and UI design. And one of my interest area is actually in the area of no code. So when I say no code, it's basically allowing people to build some sort of solutions without using code. And today I'll be introducing you some sort of details in terms of why no code will be such a good sort of option for you to building your next MVP for your great business idea. And during the presentation, if you do have any specific questions for me or just regarding the topic of no code, feel free to use Slido and put your question in the Q&A sections. So that means I can pick those up after the presentation. All right, so without further ado, let's get on with it. So first of all, I want to just introduce sort of a scenario. So let's meet Jessie. So Jessie is currently working as a teacher, basically for more than 10 years. And from like the way that she works, she has identified this like great startup idea to improve the efficiency in delivering educational content through maybe an app. But at the moment, she actually does not possess any sort of technical capability to to programming to actually create the app. What actually face sort of situation option for her was actually looking at either she can sort of outsource that to a great development company agency to help her to create this solution for her, or she can try to find a competent technical co-founders to help her to build this up as well. Obviously, there's an option that she can try to learn it. So at the moment, just in terms of if you're not getting to learning the coding itself, her options kind of limited to those two. But the problem with the two options here is that she actually needs to find the right people to work with her. A great kind of development agency is really hard to find, just like finding that sort of needle in the haystack. You do need to ask a lot of people to make sure you're working with the right group of people. They have to know what the expertise and years experience is as well. And also, if you're finding a great kind of a tech co-founder, the same thing is true. It takes time to find them, but also it's very hard to convince them. Maybe they already have a great job. Without having too much of kind of a proof to your idea, it's very hard to actually bring them on board with you. So actually with that, what's going to happen for her is starting from having that great idea, it might take them like months to actually get the first iteration of your idea to your customer, actually bring value to them. But also while you're thinking about the days and the weeks or the months it takes to get the idea out, there's also another question for sort of a Jessie as well. The question is anybody actually going to pay for this? I mean, at the moment, people are willingly to give you like a yes answer in a survey. You'll be happy to see that, yeah, people are willing to pay. But the real kind of tricky issue is when you put your product in front of people, whether they're going to pay for it. So getting something in front of other people is the real key thing. And that's the best way for you to actually validate your idea to see whether there's a market for it. So if you look at what happens in CB Insights, which they have done a post-mortem analysis on 101 failed startups, actually the top reason why startups kind of fail is because there's no market need. So it's really kind of giving us this the concern that Jessie has is true, that people might not want to use it. So how we can actually get that result early on so we know whether we're on the right track and whether we need to pivot. So that's the key thing. So today, basically, Jessie's kind of frustrated with all those kind of, the stats she's seeing and also the frustration of finding someone to actually work with her to get a solution out. So today I'm kind of presenting a good option for Jessie in that case, which is creating kind of your next MVP or your minimum viable product using no-code solutions. And the benefits of using that is, first of all, you'll be able to test the market for real feedback because now you're providing something in front of the customers to get a feedback on. So you will know whether they're going to use it or not. And secondly, in terms of the time that's required to deliver the solution, using no-code is definitely going to shorten the time because with no-code, basically you're not requiring to actually learn the complex of coding or the specific language for it. But instead what you're doing is you're just using user-friendly interfaces to build what you want to see in application. Obviously, you need to kind of put in the complexity in terms of the logics, but sometimes the no-code tool can achieve what you want to do in the first iteration of the business, which in that case, it's fantastic for the minimum viable product. Because the key thing you want to get at that stage is just the validation to your hypothesis. And thirdly, by having something built out using no-code, you'll be able to obtain attractions in front of your potential investors. If you know people are going to already start using your product, that's a great sort of sign for investor to invest on you. But also we talk about kind of attractions you want to have with your tech co-founder or potential co-founders or potential kind of the people you want to work with, having some sort of real solid data to prove that what you are building is actually making value to people. Are people willing to pay for it? That's a great sort of sign. So in that case, having no code to build that initial MVP will be really helpful. So I've been talking about no code, but I just want to do a quick sort of explanation in terms of what is no code. So according to this great report coming from Adalo, which is one of the no-code tool, so it's called the future is no-code. The definition or official definition that comes from this survey is that no-code is the art of creating a unique solution to a problem that could have been written with code, but the individuals have made it using visual method without coding. So kind of the key takeaway here is first one, using no code is always means you still have to solve a problem. So if you're just replicating something, that's probably not solving a problem. But if you do see some sort of specific niche area you want to solve the problem, using no code is perfect for that. And the second thing is, even though what we are doing here is without using code, but code is still kind of embedded in the process. I mean, at the end of the day, the no code tool itself is built using code. So code is definitely involved, but it's just the process of you building that initial solution. You're not necessarily using too much of the code. Obviously, I would touch upon in terms of the code using in no code as well. But yeah, sometimes you might want to use code. So that's kind of the extra caveat. But obviously, if you want to go for the no code solution, as in completely no code, you can do that with most of the tools that we have today. So in other words, I just want to translate like in layman's term, building with no code is like just translating all those kind of languages that you see on the left hand side to what you see on the right hand side. Like what you see is what you get, right? So the WYSIWYG some interfaces, it's very intuitive. You know what you're getting, and you kind of use the drag and drop just to select the relevant components you want to see in your final solution and present it to your user and make sure you bring value to them. So yeah, that's that. And since we're talking about no code, I want to also talk about kind of the progression that we're seeing in no code as well. So according to this a brave sort of history of the no code, which I personally agree as well, like the Excel that happens in 1985, it's actually a great example of a no code tool. So it's basically allowing people to do quite a complex computation with data through not using any sort of code. So what I call is kind of a general customer-facing no-code tools. So Excel is definitely achieving that. But starting from the 2000, we are seeing no-code to get to online a bit more. So we are seeing WordPress and Shopify basically allowing people to start creating different kind of websites using no-code tools. So some of them, we probably still need to use some code, but if you want to just get something out quickly, no code is required. And also what we are seeing is the whole sort of similar to Excel, we're seeing Google Sheets starting getting online as well. So that means people are now playing around with the computation a bit more, still using kind of without using any sort of code. And in the early 2010, that's where we start seeing a lot of early adopters of no code. So at the moment, just listening to, obviously there's more kind of players in the area as well. For instance, we have Webflow, where allow you to easily create a website without using a single line of code, and also Bubble as well, which helps you to create a website or web app actually without using a line of code. In the meantime, you're also seeing such as Squarespace and also Wix, all of those kind of focusing on websites. But then when we took a look into kind of the late 2010s, or like in just a couple of years, what we are seeing is kind of the takeoff of no code. So more and more you start seeing there's a lot of more tools that's coming to the no code area, where kind of the no code tools are enabling people to do more. So if you just take a look into kind of the current landscape, obviously this does not cover all of the no code tools that's available, but just look at the different sort of areas the no code tools cover. You'll be able to create the website and web apps. You'll be able to create mobile apps using no code tools. And also for things as complex as some sort of a machine learning and AI, you'll be able to use with the no code tool as well. So definitely there's a lot of options here. I won't list everything, but what I'm trying to say today is kind of just giving you a short taste in terms of what kind of no code tools is available there, and hopefully you can find the one that's suitable for you as well. So whenever we're talking about something for founders, obviously there's a concern like whether no-code tools or things built using no-code could be actually investable. So actually there's a live case, like a real case there in real life that people actually invested for no-code built product. So the option, Examples I have here is two of them. So first one is called Dividend. So Dividend is running kind of a solar panel financing platform for homeowners and a CRM for installers since 2014. And what they have built is their all solution, the entire solution is building with Bubble. And they have managed to raise more than 330 million and process over 1 billion of loans through the solution built by Bubble as well. So it's quite amazing in terms of what they can do with that. And also we have this option from Plato. They are YC alumni from 2016. And what they do is kind of the mentoring platform for engineering and product managers. And they'll be able to raise more than 3 million with their sort of back office totally built on Bubble as well. So as we can see here, there's a lot of good sort of examples there. Obviously, there's more to what you see here. If you go to the resources, I'm going to show you afterwards, you're definitely going to see more success stories. And also the no-code platform itself has been really gaining a lot of attraction, such as Webflow. They've done there are a lot of rounds of funding and they raise kind of millions of dollars to, for their operation as well. So because there's people are actually seeing there's a lot of potential with the no-code movement. And in terms of the specific tools I want to introduce you, so there's four of them actually kind of play around with specifically. So they're Glide, Webflow, Bubble, and Zapier. In terms of the four here, it's cover a different kind of range of the things you can build with no code. So it could be either websites or it could be mobile applications or web application. But also Zapier is kind of different, which I'm going to explain a bit more afterwards. So the first one I'm going to introduce is called Glide. So Glide is what I call the app creator using Google Sheet. So, and also what you have to see there in terms of you can creating a Google app, or sorry, an app using Google Sheet in 5 minutes, that's actually true. And how you can actually achieve that is there's a lot of app templates for you to play around with. So that means you can easily pick up something that's similar to what you're trying to solve or similar to the solution that you're aiming for and can quickly, start it off. And by the end of maybe probably not 5 minutes, but maybe sometimes you spend a day to tweak between different kind of options, you'll be able to get something and you'll be able to ship it to the customers that you want, like the beta customers. And the interface, what they have is quite easy to understand. So that means you'll be able to understand what you're trying to put out there. It's already shown to you as well. So what you see is what you get. And lastly, what they have is a very engaging and responsive kind of a user community as well. People do share their questions in terms of how they can achieve something. People sharing their success story as well. So for me, it's kind of a good way to learn how to use Glide, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy, using that community and finding out ways to improve your Glide skills as well. And in terms of examples of what Glide can build, obviously you can build something that's relatively simple using the Google Sheet. So for instance, you can have interview checkers to check all the performance from different interviewees, and then you can be able to make decisions on them and keep record of it. And you'll be able to, second thing is kind of like employees checking. You'll be able to see what connections. It's kind of like a CRM for employees. You'll be able to manage the relationships, where they're located, and all of this can be done in kind of internal app. And thirdly is actually what I see Glide is really good at. It's kind of creating this kind of listing of information or like collection of information for people to browse. For instance, you can create this like city guide quite easily. And all of this that you see here is one of the templates that you can easily pick up from Glide as well. And personally, I've worked in kind of prototype using Glide. It's like two-side marketplace where people, like one side, there's two versions of the app that are created from there. One side, people can post what they're offering. On the other side are the customers where they can browse what offerings are there and actually book a session with the person or purchase something from that person as well. So in that case, there's really a lot of things you can do with Glide. And we'll highly recommend you check the resources for the end-to-end guide as well in terms of how you can replicate some of those fancy products that you see nowadays, such as Airbnb, where you're able to build something like that using Glide. And the next tool which I use quite a lot, it's called Webflow. So Webflow is what I call a site builder with or without code. I'll explain that. And definitely you can use Webflow to create it without any code. It's quite intuitive for you to get around with it. But if you do want to empower yourself and get more functionality out of your website, using code will be an option for that as well. So that's what I see kind of a good balance in terms of what a no-code tool could be, as in you'll be able to add code, but that's at the moment where you want to empower your, find a solution a bit more. So why I think Webflow is really good is because they have really engaging and tutorial videos. This is the best I have seen so far, and it's really helped you to understand what Webflow is capable of. And you'll be able to, and the next one, which I think is quite important, is I learn by doing. So for that case, I have to see how other people are solving specific problem. So I'll be able to clone other Webflow sites and see how it works. So it doesn't mean like all Webflow sites can be cloned. So if you choose to allow your website to be cloned, then people can clone that. And for me, that's quite a good way to pick up the skills in terms of using Webflow and see what's capability of that is, which I personally feel is a very good way to learn. And thirdly, is what I said before, as in you can add code to really supercharge your website, right? There's a lot of things you can achieve by having code, and Webflow does allow you to do that as well. And some sort of example from Webflow. So first one, I would definitely suggest you to check the Webflow site, so the webflow.io, because what they have there is everything they have on the Webflow site is built by Webflow. So it's really a good sort of place, a starting place for you to see the capability of what is Webflow. But also, if you further look at what they call the showcase of Webflow sites, there's different types of people that are making different types of website. I've seen people like making even like a game using Webflow as well. An example I put here is someone making a replica of iPhone 11 Pro website using Webflow. So all the interaction that you see, on an animation that you see in an iPhone kind of 11 Pro launch website, you'll be able to create that or replicate that in Webflow. So that's really kind of a powerful thing that you can see from there. On top of that, with Webflow, you'll be able to integrate with not with any, but with a lot of other sort of different tools to help you, once again, supercharge your website to make sure you can deliver more value to your customer. The third one is called Bubble. So Bubble is the web app creator. It's definitely one of the OG in terms of web app creation. Why I personally feel it's really good is because first of all, it's free for you to start building. So it's only at a certain point when you start charging, and then you can start putting a bit of money into building Bubble. But at the very beginning, you'll be able to start free. And also, what I think is good in terms of quickly getting something out there is because there's a lot of sophisticated templates for you to pick. So that means you'll be able to purchase something and quickly do a bit tweaks and get it ready to ship out. So for instance, if you're doing something like a Uber for dog walker, so you can easily maybe buy some sort of templates from Bubble, and in that case, just tweak for your specific niche and then just get it out. As you can see, your time of development of that initial MVP is really short term just by using templates that's available from Bubble. And thirdly, what they have is a really good end-to-end guides to actually help you to build some sort of replica of the popular apps, such as like Facebook, such as Uber. And all of this sort of give you, once again, showing you kind of the capability is Bubble, but also if you have an idea just as a niche to the existing kind of popular apps, you can easily done that just by follow the steps. In terms of example that coming from Bubble, once again, Bubble site itself is built by Bubble. So similar to Webflow, you'll be able to explore the capability of it quite easily. And there's another website called NuCode, so NuCode. So NuCode is another site that's entirely built using Bubble. And from that, not only you'll be able to learn how to use kind of a different. So once again, you'll be able to see a lot of examples in terms of what you can do with Bubble. But also, you actually, the reason why I'm suggesting NuCode is I have a lot of tutorials, a lot of videos for you to learn to pick up other no-code tools as well. So in that case, it's really helping you to further, up the skills in terms of using no-code as well. And as you can see here, with the no-code website, you'll be able to, create the members, you'll be able to join, and you'll be able to, pay for it as well. So all of this can be facilitated and can be done with the Bubble site. And the last but not least, which is kind of different to all the things you've seen before, is Zapier. So Zapier is what I call the connector of internet. Basically, it's good. It's because it's allow you to get star for free. So you can test with 100 zaps. So zaps is what they call kind of the connections they can create. And in terms of connection it has, is really powerful, because all kind of the major SaaS platform that you see nowadays, most of them do have connections with Zapier. So for instance, Webflow, they have Zapier. HubSpot, where you do your CRM system, it does have Zapier as well. So you can also connect them quite easily to deliver what your end result is. And the last one, what they have is the steps in terms of setting up each Zap, and basically the connections, how you can see things happens. It's quite intuitive as well. is following kind of if this then that kind of format. So you can quickly understand what you're building and what's the result of it as well. So Zapier is different to the previous three where you're not building an entire solution, but it's more like a building part of the solution. So you allow your application once again to be more useful for people because you'll be able to see how things will work and making sure that the connection, all of them will work as well. In terms of example, I'm just showing a couple like popular apps for people to do. So for instance, as I mentioned, the Webflow can work with HubSpot using Zapier. You can connect Google Sheet with HubSpot using Zapier as well. So whenever you create like a new line of data entry in Google Sheet, you'll create a new connections in HubSpot. So in that case, you can also connect with Glide. Yeah. So with Glide, you are actually interacting with your Google Sheet, and all those data entered here, you can add it into HubSpot. So all the things are sorted. You have the application, you have your a management system for your CRM as well. So going good. And lastly, what we have is kind of sending emails through Gmails and by having an additional line of entry in your Google Sheet. So in that case, like send emails via Gmail with the Google Sheets role. It can also be facilitated with Zapier, which is pretty good. I already see there's a question regarding Zapier and IFTTT. So they're quite similar in terms of what they can achieve. Basically, you can connect things quite easily using Zapier or IFTTT, or if this, then that. The only difference what I see is some of those sort of connections that you see might not be the same. So for instance, maybe one SaaS platform is supporting Zapier, may not be supporting IFTTT. So I really encourage you to explore a bit more. But in terms of the concept, they are quite similar between IFTTT and Zapier. So I've only talked about like four resources here, but definitely there's more resources out there in no-code landscape. I would definitely suggest you check out these couple like resources to help you to further find out like what are the things that suit you. What I'm talking about today is kind of really the tips of the iceberg. So one of the resources I use or I check all the time is called the no-code list. This is what I call is kind of the collection of all no-code tools on the internet. It have a really good kind of filtration process for you to find out the thing that can help you to fix or finding a solution for the problem you're trying to solve. So I would definitely suggest you check on that and to find out what the tool that you could be useful for yourself. And the second resource I have here is the no-code founders. So no-code founders is what I call kind of the digital guide to be a successful founder with you while you're using no-code tools. So no-code founder, you can also get some tutorials there, but also it's more about kind of people sharing their experience and how you can be really good as a founder with using no-code. Or if you are creating a new no-code tool, it'll be a good place for you to get some customers from that as well. And third one is MakerPad. So this one, once again, is kind of has been quite famous in the area of no code. So they are the learning platform that helps you to obtain skills to build with no code. There's a tons of kind of videos and courses for you to explore and really understand what's the capability coming from no code as well. So you'll be able to learn how you can replicate and create like Uber using a no code tool, or create like a Facebook, or definitely not the full Facebook, but certain elements or certain functionality from that using no-code tool as well. So I really implore you to take a look into MakerPad. They do have free resources, whereas there's some resources you probably have to pay for it, but you can start with the free one just to get a sense in terms of what you can do. And lastly, when we're talking about no-code, I also want to mention kind of this whole no-code movement. As you can see, it's not only the small players, the new platforms, people trying to create no code, even the big players, Microsoft, Google, and AWS or Amazon, all of them are start moving into the no code area as well, because they see there's a lot of potential from there. Because what we are having with no code is it's no longer giving this level of creativity or this power to create. It's no longer with the developers anymore. It's more about everybody have the capability to build something they envision to have. So in that case, you really sort of unleash this power of creation by having these no-code tools available to everyone to access. And at the very last, I just want to sort of conclude in terms of the key benefits people can get from having a no-code MVP. So obviously, you'll be able to validate your concept. Really good having an MVP out using created by no-code. You'll be able to have a really good working prototype or somewhere working prototype, but that's the concept, right? You get something shipped out to your customer, you get a taste of it, and the people know whether they want to invest further with a specific solution as well. And lastly, as a non-tech kind of founders, it's really giving you that sort of confidence that you can bring something, you can create something entirely new to send it to your customer and really get some really good feedback. And with that, with the confidence you have gained, you'll be able to talk to investor or talk to new customers or talk to the potential people that can work with you to make sure you can deliver the dream outcome that you want to see as well. So that concludes all my presentation. I'll be now checking on the Q&A and see whether the people have any specific questions on what I have just presented. There's a lot of manual website builders and coder out of business. So this is the question that I've seen a lot in terms of whether no-code is actually putting coders or developers out of business. So my answer is absolutely not. Well, first of all the no-code tools, they're built with code. So we definitely need developers and coders to make sure we can have a no-code tools. But more importantly, what I see from here is with the no-code tool is actually giving people or empowering the coders or developers to focus on more kind of a complex issue. So they're solving something that's more urgent for people to solve using code specifically. And personally, I also think having coders to be involved in this process is really good as well. So they're able to kind of bypass some of those processes, which previously you probably have to use code to do it, but now you can use no code to build a certain part of it, and then the rest of the more complex part, then you can do that with code. And a good example would be Webflow, where you can build certain part of the website. Once you get a certain stage where maybe you are limited, obviously you can use the existing platform within Webflow to add some code snippets. But if you prefer, you can also just export the website out from Webflow and just build a code on top of that as well. And based on what I've heard from people, they said actually the code coming from Webflow is really clean as well. So definitely it's not putting the business out for the coders or the dev agencies. Personally, I think it's kind of an empowerment of more people to actually start creating. What is no code classified under education, drafting, production ready, revenue generating code? For this, I think personally, no code could be more considered as a way for people to start creating that initial MVP, which personally I think it's really good in terms of creating, just something out there that you can test it with your customer quite easily and get some feedback. In terms of once you move into like generating revenue, as I just mentioned before, some of those companies are also using no-code creative tools or products to get revenue. So you can still do that, and people do invest on business created by no-code tool as well. But obviously, what I think as a good area for no-code to start, at least to get involved in the startup journey, will be in the very beginning where people can start building the idea. Maybe they have an idea out, you can just build it. But also when I say no code, I think it's very important to say that you still have to follow a good process to get your solution built. So you still have to do your proper design, do your initial survey and research as well. So all things are still important. It doesn't mean that you don't have to do that and just build something out. But it does mean once you have something that's relatively solid, you want to start testing with your real customers, you'll be able to easily get that done with the no-code tool. Yeah, the next question we have is regarding security and privacy concern with no-code, and that's something I've heard a lot of time as well. In terms of that, I would definitely suggest you to do your diligence and check out a couple tools that's available there, just to see how they are protecting how they are managing their data. Personally, what I know is what they do is they're usually leveraging the existing solutions for security management, and so it should be relatively good. But once again, that's kind of also the concern coming from the different enterprise players in terms of whether they want to get into no code. Is more about the security and any sort of limitations of that. So I would definitely suggest you to take a look on their website in terms of what their specific policies in terms of managing of the data. So I can't really say too much on the specific tools. I'll definitely suggest you take a look on that. I understand people still have a lot of questions. And just given the limited time I have here, so I would definitely suggest you once again to check on the different tools that I've suggested today. And if you do have more questions regarding no code and how you can use no code to create your MVP, and if you have any trouble in terms of using the tools that I mentioned before, feel free to find me out on LinkedIn. You can easily just search my name, Jessie, there, and you'll be able to find me there. And also you can follow me on Twitter and InquisitiveMD, and you'll be able to see the posts I have regarding no code, which I'm actually planning to create something relatively soon regarding no-code hackathons or no-code challenges. Once again, I learn by doing, so I want to share that different kind of learning opportunity with everybody else as well. So I'll be able to share something on there and get people to use no-code a bit more. And obviously, feel free to send me an email, just say hi. And if you have any questions, do that as well. So thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and hope you guys have a nice day.